I remember the moment my world began to crumble. It was a Saturday afternoon, the sun was shining, and everything felt perfect. I was organizing our living room, humming to my favorite song, when my phone buzzed. A message popped up from a mutual friend that changed everything. I saw John with someone else. My heart dropped. I felt a chill run down my spine as I read it again, hoping it was a mistake. "Leora, are you okay?" my best friend Mia asked, her eyes full of concern as I stared blankly at my phone. I couldn't respond. My mind raced. How could this happen? John was my rock, the man who promised me forever. I thought I knew him, but now doubt crept into my thoughts like a thief in the night. I confronted him later that evening. "John, I need to talk to you," I said, my voice trembling. He looked up from his phone, confusion etched on his face. "What's wrong?" I felt the weight of my words crushing me. "I know about the other woman." The silence that followed was deafening. His expression shifted from surprise to something else. Guilt? Denial? I couldn't tell. "Leora, you're misunderstanding," he stammered, but I could see the cracks in his facade. My heart raced as reality hit me. The man I loved, the man I trusted, had betrayed me. "Stop lying to me," I shouted, anger igniting within me. "I deserve the truth." The initial shock of his betrayal felt like a punch to the gut. I stood there, feeling as if my perfect life had shattered into a million pieces. I thought of all those sweet moments, the laughter, the plans we made together. Were they all lies? My chest tightened. How could I have been so blind? As the anger bubbled up, it mixed with confusion. Why would he do this? Didn't he love me? My mind swirled with questions, and with each one, my heart grew heavier. I wanted answers, but all I felt was the sting of betrayal. My thoughts turned to revenge. I wanted him to feel the pain he had caused me. But was that the right path? I began to question everything I knew about love and loyalty. What did it mean to trust someone if they could betray you so easily? Would I ever see myself the same way again? I paced around our apartment, my heart racing with every step. I could hear echoes of laughter from our past, the promises we made. "You're my forever," he had said once, his voice full of warmth. Now those words felt like daggers. What was I supposed to do now? I felt lost, a ship adrift in a stormy sea. I thought about our friends, the ones who believed in us. How would they react if they knew? Would they side with him or me? Would I even want their support? I was drowning in uncertainty, but one thing was clear. I needed to reclaim my life. "Leora, are you still with me?" Mia's voice cut through my thoughts. I looked at her, my eyes filled with unshed tears. "I don't know who I am anymore, Mia. I thought I had everything figured out." She wrapped her arms around me, and in that moment, I felt a flicker of strength. "You'll find your way back. Just take it one day at a time," she said softly. But as I stood there, enveloped in her warmth, I realized I had a choice to make. Would I let this betrayal define me? Or would I rise from the ashes of this heartbreak? My heart was heavy, but deep down, a flame of determination began to burn. I would find a way to heal, to understand, and perhaps even to reclaim the trust that had been so cruelly ripped away. I felt like a ghost, haunting the edges of my own life. It was strange, really. After John's betrayal, I found myself slipping into the role of a silent observer. I watched him from the shadows, my heart heavy with a mix of anger and sadness. I needed to know what he was up to, how he was living his life without me. "Leora, are you okay?" my friend Sarah asked one afternoon as we sat at our favorite cafe. I forced a smile, holding back the storm of emotions swirling inside me. "Yeah, just thinking," I replied, stirring my coffee absent-mindedly. "About what?" she pressed. "Just stuff," I murmured, avoiding her gaze. I couldn't tell her the truth. I couldn't tell her I was tracking John's every move. After our meeting, I slipped into my routine. I began to gather intel from our mutual friends. I would listen in on conversations, looking for any mention of John. Sometimes it felt empowering, like I was reclaiming a piece of my shattered world. Other times, it felt like a curse, amplifying the pain I was trying to escape. One evening, while scrolling through social media, I stumbled upon a post that made my stomach churn. There she was, the other woman. Her name was Emily, and she was celebrating a promotion at her job. "Congratulations," she wrote, adding a picture of herself with John, both of them smiling like they were in their own little bubble. My heart raced. "How could he?" I whispered to myself, clenching my fists. The more I learned about Emily and her life, the more my desire for revenge took root. She was everything I wasn't, or at least that's how it felt. "Leora, you look tense. You need to relax," my friend Mark said one night when we were hanging out. "Yeah, just a lot on my mind," I replied, trying to shake off the weight of my thoughts. But deep down, I knew I was spiraling into a dark place. Every time I learned something new about John and Emily, I felt a spark of anger ignite within me. I started to imagine ways to make him feel the same hurt I felt. I could confront him, expose him for the liar he was, or maybe I could go to Emily directly. Each thought fueled my desire for revenge, but it also filled me with doubt. Is this really who I want to be? I asked myself one night, staring at my reflection in the mirror. Do I want to be the woman who seeks revenge? But then, the image of John's carefree smile would flash in my mind, and I would feel that fire reignite. It was as if a battle was raging within me, one part wanting to heal, the other wanting to hurt. As days turned into weeks, I found myself caught in a web of secrets and lies. I would often overhear conversations among friends, their laughter echoing in my ears. I watched John move freely among them, and I felt a pang of jealousy and sorrow. "Leora, you need to talk to him," Sarah said one day, concern etched on her face. "You can't keep this bottled up." "I will," I replied, though I had no real intention of doing so. I was too consumed by my plans. One evening, I overheard a couple of friends discussing John's new relationship. They sounded so casual, so unaware of the hurt underneath it all. My heart raced as I listened. "He seems really happy with her," one said. "Yeah, I can't believe he moved on so quickly," another chimed in. A wave of anger washed over me. Quickly, I thought. He's been lying to me all along. That night I lay awake, grappling with the choices before me. Was revenge the answer? Or would it only deepen the wounds I carried? I felt torn, suspended between the desire for revenge and the hope for healing. As I drifted off to sleep, I knew one thing for certain: the path I was on was dangerous. I had to choose wisely, or I might lose myself entirely in the process. As I sat on the edge of my bed, staring at the ceiling, a plan began to form in my mind. I could no longer just be a passive observer in my own life. I needed to take control. It was time to plant seeds of doubt about John's loyalty among our friends. I wanted him to feel a fraction of the pain he had caused me. "Leora, are you okay?" my friend Mia asked as she entered my room. She could sense something was off. "I'm fine," I replied, forcing a smile. But inside, I was anything but fine. I felt a rush of excitement at the thought of finally taking action. It was a strange feeling, almost like a warm blanket wrapping around me, giving me a sense of power. Over the next few days, I started dropping hints during casual conversations. "You know, I saw John out late last week. He seemed a bit too happy," I said to Tom, our mutual friend. His brow furrowed in confusion, but I could see the wheels turning in his mind. "Really? I thought he was working late," Tom replied, clearly intrigued. "Yeah, well, I guess some people have a funny way of balancing work and play," I said, a smirk creeping onto my face. The words felt good to say, and I relished the control I had over the narrative. As the days went by, I watched as my comments began to take root among our friends. John's carefree demeanor at a gathering made me feel both satisfied and guilty. I couldn't help but think of the joy he might have felt while I was drowning in pain. It was a conflicting mix of emotions. "Leora, you seem different lately," Mia said one evening as we sat together. "Is everything all right with you and John?" I took a deep breath. "I'm just thinking about things, like how well do we really know the people we love?" Mia looked at me, her eyes wide with concern. "That's a heavy question. Are you worried about him?" "Let's just say I've had my doubts," I replied, my voice barely above a whisper. The pivotal moment came during a gathering at our friend Sarah's house. I watched as my planted rumors began to swirl among the group. The laughter and light-hearted conversations felt strained, and I could sense the tension growing. "Hey, did you hear about John?" Sarah asked, her voice light but her eyes betraying a hint of seriousness. "There's talk that he's been spending time with someone else." I feigned surprise, my heart racing with both excitement and dread. "Really?" "I hadn't heard that," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. As the evening progressed, I watched as the seeds of doubt took root. The laughter faded, replaced by whispers and worried glances. It was empowering to see John's world begin to crack, but guilt gnawed at my insides. "What have I done?" I thought to myself as I stepped outside for some fresh air. The weight of my actions pressed down on me, and I felt the conflict within me intensify. Was this really what I wanted? Would revenge bring me the closure I sought? My thoughts were interrupted when John approached me, a drink in hand and a carefree smile on his face. "Hey, why do you look so serious? It's just a party," he said, laughter in his eyes. I forced a smile, but inside, my stomach twisted. "Just thinking about life," I replied, trying to keep my voice light. He shrugged, clearly oblivious to the storm brewing beneath the surface. "You worry too much. Let's just enjoy tonight." As I watched him walk away, I felt a surge of anger. How could he be so carefree while I felt like I was falling apart? The thrill of control I had felt earlier began to fade, replaced by a deep sense of unease. I realized then that my actions were not just about revenge. They were about my own pain, my own need for acknowledgement. I was losing sight of myself in this pursuit of justice. Would hurting him really heal my wounds? In that moment, I knew I needed to reassess my path. The seeds of doubt I had planted might grow, but would they lead me to the peace I craved? Or would they only deepen my own suffering? As the tension in the room hung heavy, I could feel my heart pounding in my chest. I had spent weeks gathering my thoughts, preparing for this moment. I faced John, the man I once loved so deeply. Armed with the truth of his betrayal, I was ready to confront him, ready to expose everything I had learned. "John," I started, my voice trembling slightly, "we need to talk." He looked at me, confusion crossing his face. "What do you mean? About what?" I took a deep breath, trying to steady my shaking hands. "About you and her. I know everything." His expression shifted from confusion to defensiveness. "What are you talking about? You're being ridiculous," he snapped. "Ridiculous?" I repeated, anger bubbling within me. "You think I'm making this up? I saw the texts, the late-night calls. I know about your affair." My voice grew stronger as I spoke, each word fueled by the hurt he had caused. "Leora, please," he said, running a hand through his hair, a gesture that used to calm me, but now only made me feel more infuriated. "You don't understand what you're saying." "Oh, I understand perfectly," I shot back. "You think I'm just going to pretend like everything is fine? You broke my trust, John. You shattered everything we had." He took a step closer, his voice rising. "I made a mistake. It was a mistake, not a betrayal. You have to believe me." "A mistake?" I scoffed, my heart racing. You call cheating on me a mistake? That's not just a simple error. That's a choice you made over and over again. The argument escalated, our voices echoing in the empty room. I could feel the raw wounds of our relationship being ripped open. Each accusation felt like a dagger, but they were also my release. You hurt me, John. You took my love and threw it away. Do you even care? He paused, his defensiveness cracking under the weight of my words. I never wanted to hurt you, Leora. I thought I could manage it all. I thought you would never find out. Manage it all? I echoed, my voice thick with disbelief. You thought lying to me was a solution? You thought I would just be okay with your betrayal? His gaze fell to the floor, and for a moment, I saw something in his eyes, a flicker of regret. I was selfish. I didn't think about how my actions would affect you. Then tell me, John, I demanded. How do you explain the pain you've caused? How do you justify the lies? He looked up at me, his expression shifting from anger to vulnerability. I can't justify what I did. I know I messed up, Leora. I'm sorry. The weight of his apology hung in the air, but it felt insufficient. Sorry doesn't change what happened, I replied, my voice softer now, the fight draining from me. You need to acknowledge the hurt you've caused. I deserve that. I know, he said, his voice barely above a whisper. I was wrong to betray you. You deserve so much more than what I gave. In that moment, the walls we had built around ourselves began to crumble. I could see the cracks in his facade, the pain mirrored in my own heart. I loved you, John, I said, tears threatening to spill. I thought we were building a life together, but now I don't even recognize you anymore. I don't recognize myself either, he admitted, his voice breaking. I've lost sight of what truly mattered. As we stood there, the weight of our shared pain enveloped us. In that unexpected exchange, I felt a shift within me. It was cathartic, raw, and bittersweet. I had confronted my past, and while it hurt, it also felt like a necessary step toward healing. Maybe we both need to find a way to heal, I whispered. But I can't do that if you're still hiding from the truth. He nodded, and for the first time, I saw a glimmer of understanding in his eyes. I'll do whatever it takes to make this right, Leora. I want to be honest with you, even if it means facing my mistakes. As the tension began to ease, I realized that this confrontation, though painful, was a pivotal moment. We were both lost, but perhaps together we could find a way forward. After the confrontation with John, I felt like I was standing on the edge of a cliff, looking down into a deep abyss. I was torn between the burning desire for revenge and the desperate need to heal. My heart raced as I replayed our argument in my mind. Every word, every accusation echoed in my head. I had unleashed my pain, but now what? Was this really the end I wanted, or just the beginning of something even darker? I walked through the park, the cool breeze brushing against my skin, but it did little to calm the storm inside me. I sat on a bench, feeling lost. I thought about how I had let vengeance take over my life. What have I become? I whispered to myself. I used to be someone who believed in love and trust. Now I felt like a stranger in my own skin. Just then, I spotted Clara, an old friend, walking towards me. She always had a way of knowing when I needed her. Leora, she called out, her voice warm and inviting. You look like you've been through a war. I forced a smile. You could say that. Clara sat down beside me, her expression turning serious. I heard about what happened with John. I'm so sorry. How are you holding up? I sighed deeply, feeling the weight of my emotions. I'm not sure. Part of me wants to make him pay for what he did, but another part just wants to move on. Revenge can feel good in the moment, she said softly, but it often leads to more pain. Have you thought about what you really want? I looked at her, searching for answers. I want to feel whole again. I want to reclaim my life, but I don't know how. Clara nodded, her eyes filled with understanding. What if you tried forgiveness? Not for him, but for yourself. It could be the key to your freedom. Forgiveness? The word felt foreign on my tongue. How can I forgive him after everything he's done? It feels impossible. Forgiveness doesn't mean you forget what happened or that you let him off the hook, Clara explained gently. It means you're choosing to let go of the anger that's holding you back. It's about finding peace within yourself. I stared out at the park, watching the leaves flutter in the wind. Clara's words sank in. Could forgiveness really help me? I thought about the time I spent plotting my revenge, the energy I wasted feeding my anger. Maybe I've been focusing on the wrong things, I admitted slowly. Exactly, Clara encouraged. You have the power to change your story. Healing starts with you. I took a deep breath, feeling a flicker of hope. What do I do next? I asked, wanting to take that first step. Start small, she suggested. Reflect on your feelings. Write them down. Talk to someone who can help, like a therapist. It's okay to feel hurt, but don't let it define you. As I listened to her, I felt a sense of clarity wash over me. I realized that I had been so consumed by my desire for revenge that I had lost sight of who I was. Thank you, Clara, I said, feeling grateful for her wisdom. I think I want to try this. I want to confront my pain directly and reclaim my identity. Clara smiled, her eyes shining with pride. That's the spirit. You deserve to find your strength again. As we talked, I could feel the heaviness in my heart beginning to lift. I was still hurting, but I was ready to take the first step towards healing. I looked at Clara with newfound determination. I'm going to do this. I will take back my life. Just remember, she said, giving my hand a reassuring squeeze. It's a journey. Be kind to yourself along the way. I nodded, feeling a sense of purpose. I was ready to embrace this journey, not just for myself, but to reclaim the person I used to be, the Leora who believed in love, hope, and the possibility of brighter days ahead. As I sat on the edge of my bed, sunlight streaming through the window, I realized it was time to stop living in the shadow of John's betrayal. I felt like I had been trapped in a storm, but now a sense of calm began to wash over me. I took a deep breath, filling my lungs with hope instead of anger. It was time for healing. I picked up my phone and called Lisa, my closest friend. Hey Lisa, can we meet? I really need to talk, I said, my voice shaky but determined. Of course, Leora, I'll be there in 20 minutes, she replied, her voice warm and reassuring. While I waited for her, I thought about how much I had lost and how much I had allowed my pain to define me. I wanted to turn the page on this chapter of my life. When Lisa arrived, I poured out my heart to her. I feel like I've been consumed by this need for revenge, I confessed, tears brimming in my eyes. But I don't want to be that person anymore. Lisa nodded, her expression gentle. It's okay to feel that way, Leora. But remember, focusing on revenge will only keep you trapped in the pain. You deserve to heal. Her words struck a chord within me. I realized I had been holding on to my anger like a lifeline, but it was actually pulling me under. I needed to let go. I think I want to try therapy, I said, my voice steadier now. I want to understand myself better and find a way to forgive. That's a great idea, Lisa encouraged. It takes strength to seek help. You're taking the first step toward healing. With a newfound determination, I found a therapist who specialized in healing from betrayal. At our first session, I sat across from her, feeling nervous yet hopeful. I don't even know where to start, I admitted. Let's begin with your feelings, she suggested softly. What has this experience taught you about yourself? I took a moment to think. It has shown me how deeply I can love, but also how vulnerable I am. I've let my pain control me for too long. As the sessions went on, I began to peel back the layers of my heartache. I learned that vulnerability is not a weakness. It is a path to strength. I started to embrace my feelings instead of pushing them away. I cried, I laughed, and I shared stories that I had buried deep inside. One afternoon, I sat in my therapist's office and said, "I feel lighter. I can finally see a way forward." "That's wonderful, Leora," she replied, a smile lighting up her face. "Remember, healing is not a straight path. It's okay to have ups and downs." With each passing week, I felt myself transforming. I began to reconnect with friends I had neglected during my time of pain. I started to rediscover my passions, like painting and hiking. I was finding myself again. Then came the moment I had been dreading and anticipating, confronting John one last time. I decided to meet him at a cafe, a neutral ground. As I walked in, my heart raced, but this time it was not out of anger, but anticipation. I was ready to speak my truth. John looked up, surprise flickering across his face. "Leora," he said, his voice tight. "Hi, John. Thanks for meeting me," I said, taking a seat. "I wanted to talk about us." "I didn't think you'd want to see me again," he admitted, looking down at his hands. "I didn't want to either, but I realized I need to say this," I began, my voice steady. "I've been angry and hurt, and you caused a lot of pain in my life. But holding on to that anger only hurt me more." "I'm sorry for what I did. I never wanted to hurt you," he said, regret etched on his face. "I know," I replied, feeling a sense of peace wash over me. "I'm not here to blame you anymore. I'm here to let go. I need to move forward for my own sake." He looked at me, and for the first time, I saw a glimmer of understanding. "I hope you find happiness, Leora." "Thank you, John," I said, feeling lighter than I had in months. "I wish you the same." As I left the cafe, I felt a weight lifted from my shoulders. I was finally free. I had turned my pain into a stepping stone toward a brighter future. I was ready to embrace this new chapter of my life, filled with hope, healing, and self-love. Share this story if you believe that healing can emerge from even the deepest pain. Leave a comment about a time when you chose forgiveness over anger and how it transformed your life. Don't forget to subscribe for more inspiring stories like this one.